In your body, in particular, the pelvis is too anteriorly flexed. It's tipped forward. And the reason for that is because the hamstrings aren't shortening to rotate the pelvis into a neutral and extended position. Also, the lats that attach to the pelvis are too short, and so they're lifting up the back of the pelvis. So by stretching your hamstrings, it will get your pelvis to extend, and then you'll stop hyperextending at the knee. Your pelvis will also come back in space. So normally your pelvis is too far forward and tipped forward. And because you don't extend here, you hyperextend here. So as this extends, this will stop hyperextending. The thighs are normally too externally rotated, so they're going to internally rotate. When the pelvis is too flexed, you get an increased lordotic curve in the lumbar spine, which is followed by an increased kyphotic curve going back. I exaggerated, in the thoracic spine. And then for you, the whole rib cage is not only pushed forward, but it's lifted up and expanded out. So as this lengthens up and pushes up and forward, your whole rib cage is going to come down and into your body. Your whole neck, which mirrors always the curve in the lumbar spine, will actually come and stack on top of the structure, and the head and neck will come backwards. Your shoulder girdle, which is normally protracted down and forward, will actually rotate backwards. That's called extension, and will come wider. That's abduction. And your upper arms will more externally rotate. In terms of the psychological part, your genetic type is associated with the function of the liver and sexual. The high trait of your type is associated with freedom and being helpful and strategic. The low trait's associated with codependency, where you help other people sometimes when how you're helping them is really how you need help and not really how they need help. And then they don't like it when you help them, even though you know you did something that was kind of good for them. The weak link for your personality type, which means the trauma in childhood, actually occurred in the large intestine muscle groups, and the large intestine is balanced by lungs. So that's why you have this huge lifted rib cage, is because you have a false representation of this type, of the lung type. So we go after and we'll develop the large intestine qualities. By the way, golfing is a large intestine activity. When you integrate as a type, you start as an emotional type. You then go into pericardium as a spiritual type. You then go into lung as a brand of physicality. And then you go into kidney as a form of thinking. Your balancing type, which is also your unconscious type, is a female, and it's a gallbladder brain. And that type of woman is the type that's the right type for a long-term intimate relationship, where you're satisfied instead of it not working. That's the only type that actually balances you, because the gallbladder balances the liver and the brain balances the sexual. But what we want to do is we just want to stretch out your lats here some, and we want to take a little more stuff out of your subscapularis, because that's for your lungs. And then we're gonna, it's not gonna happen right now, but we're gonna show you this entire rib cage is gonna come way down in the body and way back in. And then you'll get much more capacity for your lungs above, because when this is raised, this is actually compressed. So you actually don't get the air that you need. And so what happens is this, as the rib cage comes into the body and the thoracic spine lengthens, you get an increase in the volume of the ability to take in oxygen and stuff. That's all going to happen for you.